Ahoy hoy! Welcome to episode 23 of the Elephant Room podcast with the legend that is me, Frank Shortle, the Louth man, Metallica fan, Ian Enterhand.
That is one of the best yet, Frank. Excellent.
I'm happy with that one. And he's an old dirty bastard. He's live and he's half cut. It's Shane Martin.
I like that. Yeah, as I'm drinking whiskey in a pint glass, I'll go with that.
A pint of whiskey.
Jesus.
He gets nervous when the red light comes on.
Yeah.
Good God, man.
Yeah. And we have a special guest with us. He's East Coast Canada's answer to Ryan Reynolds. His great granddad, Ronnie, he used to love to dress up in a red wig, a yellow suit, and hang out with kids and set up a well-known fast food restaurant. It's Colin Kline MacDonald.
I told you that story in confidence. Thank you for having me, gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. Yeah, we're not having you here just for the crack of it. It's because you've done a bit of work for us.
I have indeed.
He tarmacked by front drive there. No, Colin wrote, directed, and starred in our video Blue Horrors that was in 2018.
Yes, yeah. I very nearly forgot about that, and then when I was making this one, I went back and watched it, and it's like pleasantly surprised. I thought it was going to be shit, but it was actually not too bad.
And much like the new video that you're doing, which just came out, I asked you to do something very simple, and then you came back with far more elaborate ideas.
Simple doesn't seem to work so well for me. I think for the Blue Horrors video, you just said, go out and get some shots of the mountains. And then I came back 2 months later, after 2 months of radio silence, with a complete video.
It's true, actually. Yeah. I remember sitting there thinking, that bastard's not going to come back with anything, is he? Yeah, the Blue Horrors video. Yeah, you came back with like a Top Gear-esque video of
something like that. Yeah.
Many angles of Jeeps going through the snow.
That was the definition of distracted driving. I was like, I had the camera set up with the the tripod on the passenger seat, and I've got one hand on the wheel over here and trying to look. I've got the screen turned out to me so I can kind of see what's going on. I must have looked at the road about 30% of the time. It's amazing. It's amazing I didn't crash.
But that's it. The first one you basically did it completely by yourself, did you?
Completely solo, yeah.
Like, what was the story with the Huskies, Colin?
So that was a friend of ours, TJ, who was doing work for a fellow who runs a dog sledding company, and he got us like a free afternoon or something one day. And it was before I had even started to shoot the Blue Horrors video, and I was just like, well, I'll just get some footage of this and see if I can use it somewhere. And then it ended up working okay.
Class.
I suppose most importantly is the reason I asked you to do them was because you've actually got some sort of background in acting and videos and stuff.
Yes.
I'm not just putting a Goliath of a task on some lad.
Well, so I did very briefly attend a classical theater school in Toronto when I was about 20 years old. And I think if anybody from that, staff or any of the students saw this video and heard us calling it acting, would have a lot to say about that. But I do have a background in theatrics.
I think what's interesting is you said you were on tour with the theater before.
Right. Yeah. So when I was 19, I got a job I was doing a traveling show for high school students on the dangers of teen gambling. Yeah, it was the big leagues, of course. And the funny thing is, that's not a problem, right? No, there's nobody in high school out there fucking playing the pokies. And I was 19 at the time, and it was American football season. So I was the only teen gambling in the whole process. But it was cool. We did get to do some, they put me up in Halifax for 3 weeks, and we were rehearsing out of the Neptune Theatre, which was kind of cool. It was definitely an interesting experience.
But yeah, the reason I said that is, I suppose anything you did in theatre school or on that tour, you're obviously on a stage talking and interacting with people and stuff like that. It's like a music video you don't have to talk at all. So you're completely relying on your movements.
No, but that didn't stop me from talking while I was filming it. Some of the raw footage is pretty funny.
I could make out the words and stuff. It's very funny. I was watching along. I was like, oh.
Yes, the deaf community is going to love it.
So this is for the new video. So the new video that just came out is Mr. Spider, which is our new song, which I think we should just play it at the end of the podcast. And the video is up on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and everywhere. Yeah, what I said to you when I was thinking about making a video for that, because we recorded that and we were sitting on it for fucking like a year maybe. We hadn't like mastered it properly. It wasn't fully mixed. It was all over the place. But when we finally got it together, I was like, I suppose we have to kind of release this. That's what bands do, isn't it? But not podcasts. We record songs and talk about them. We don't release them. Yeah, I was thinking there's no point in just unceremoniously releasing it into the ether on Spotify. I was like, we might as well just do a video. And the kind of nature of the song and just in general, what I wanted to do with a music video was anytime I ever meet up with people, you've always got that kind of back and forth. If you're sitting around with a group of friends, you start putting on music videos or stuff on YouTube or songs or whatever, and you sit around and go, oh, put that one on, the video for that's really good, or put that song on, watch the video, or I'll send you that. I wanted to make a video like that you could show to your friends, go, this is really good. So I wanted to make something that was like just funny, basically, because we'd never done anything like that. All of our stuff has always been, if you can find it funny if you want, but it's usually like trying to be artistic or in some way kind of serious. Obviously there's funny elements in some of the videos, but I wanted to make an all out kind of funny one. So I was just expecting you to like dance around your underpants for maybe 2.5 minutes or something.
Well, it's funny because that's what I was expecting as well.
You had done a birthday video for one of our other friends, and you'd done a Rubber Bandits impression for it.
I had, yes. No, Frank, I think your first instructions to me were, I want you to make something low budget and funny. And I think we got 1 out of 2 because I spent millions on this.
I mean, I'm in a lot of debt.
I'm in a lot of debt. Yeah, absolutely.
If the gambling from my teen years wasn't enough. This has crippled me. I think go back to how much did you actually spend?
The teddy bears I got at the thrift store here in Canmore.
How much were they? Like, how much do you pay for 50 teddy bears?
I think a grand total. I think I went back about 3 times, and I think the grand total was probably along the lines of like $40. They're like $3 a stuffed animal or something. But of course, I am standing in line looking like I look right now with the mustache and the mullet, holding with my arms just overflowing with teddy bears. They're falling on the ground. I got to reach out and pick them up. And there's an old lady behind me who just taps me on the shoulder and gives me a cheeky grin and goes, "All for you?"
I think it's nearly even creepier that you then donated them to a daycare. I think it'd be more normal if they were like for your house or something. I don't know.
I don't think there was a normal solution to that. The only thing that cost me any money was I had to pay people in beer to come be in this music video, because of course I would tell people, I'm shooting a music video for my friend's band in Ireland. Do you want to come on by and be part of it? And they would always kind of look at me and go like, "Oh, so you do you have experience doing this?" And I would go, "Not really, no." And they was like, "Oh, well, you must have very good equipment." And I go, "Oh, fuck no, absolutely not." So the only way I could get them there was to bribe them with beer. I said, I'll give you a beer and you just have to look disapprovingly at me.
Yeah, how much? I noticed that when you like knocked the pint over and stuff. How many pints did you actually go through?
Oh, how many pints did I drink during that? I went home drunk fairly often.
Yourself and collectively, how many pints were drank?
Ooh. Well, I'll just get my boss to turn this off for a minute and say probably 50 in total.
That should have been in the credits at the end.
The issue, it's pints drank, yeah. The issue was that I broke more than one Guinness glass, and we now currently only have one Guinness glass left. So we can't. If two people order a pint of Guinness, only one of them gets a Guinness glass,
Oh, jeez.
The other one gets a wine glass.
and they can't seem to get any more. I don't know what. I don't know. Maybe you guys can put a word in.
Yeah, we could put a word into Guinness, and then we could
Our
just,
good friends at Guinness.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I used to work there, so
Oh, that's true.
they owe
That
me,
is true.
they owe me 2 years, so the least they could do is give me like a few glasses.
Oh fuck.
Two of the girls in the video are Irish as well, aren't they? Or one of them is.
So yeah, the two girls that he goes up to, and like as he spills the pint glass, Kira is Scottish. The redhead is Scottish, and then Shannon is Irish. She's from Belfast. Kira was actually the only reason I found a child to shoot. She was my head of child recruitment.
It's very
That was
risky.
Another reason I'm on that list.
Yeah.
I suppose I should talk a little bit about that, because the funniest thing about me, that shot was done like right on Main Street in Canmore. Have you ever, I don't know whether it's a show or a game or what it is. It's called The Last of Us, and HBO is shooting making a television series for it.
Yeah.
And so they shot it in downtown Canmore. So they shut down the whole Main Street for about a week, and people were coming from far and wide to just come watch them film, right? And it was about 3 days after they left that I shot Kalia, the little girl with the teddy bears. And I couldn't stop imagining people who were just a couple days late for the HBO thing. And showing up and going like, I really expected this to be a bigger production. It's just one guy with a handy cam and a 15 teddy bears shooting fucking some small child. They went home very disappointed. They're like, HBO is really falling off. This is not Game of Thrones.
Some guy just going, "Oh, The Last of Us is going to be really shit."
Jeez, I played that game. I don't remember this scene.
Yeah.
The camera is probably the funniest part of it, right? Because it was when you asked me to do the Blue Horrors video, I just went out and bought. It literally says Handycam on the side. It's like a camera that you would have shot amateur porn with in like 2002. So I'm wandering around the place with this on a $25 tripod, trying to make a music video, and people are like, "Oh yeah, sure, yeah."
Yeah.
So I guess I'll tell you how I came up with the video then.
Yes, that's what I was going to ask.
So Frank, when you first sent it to me, it's funny you mentioned, are you just running around, or I figured you just run around in your underwear, because my first idea for it was when I heard like the applause at the end. My first idea was to have this guy do a one-man show, just some random guy do a one-man show. And the first part of it is him like in his dressing room, like in the mirror, smearing lipstick all over his face and just doing crazy shit like that. And then he gets out on stage and he does this ridiculous one-man show. And then of course you see the audience is just a bunch of stuffed animals. And it was just going to be like kind of pans across the face of the stuffed animals. So that's where that idea came in. And I was talking to my friend Joe McGovern about it, and Joe and I had been looking for some kind of creative project to work on together for ages. And we took a drive one day out into the Spray Valley, which Frank, you'll probably know is the place we saw the lynx.
Yep.
And so we drove out there and we just chatting shit about it. And eventually we kind of came to this idea. Well, sorry. I suppose I was talking to you, Frank, about what the song was actually about. And I don't know whether you want to get into that or not, but there was an aspect of corporate douchebaggery, I believe.
Yeah. So yeah, a quick sum up of the song. I usually don't explain what songs are about to any.
Well, that's why I've absolutely sewered you here, because I assumed that you weren't going to.
No one's ever asked me. So, but now that I have you, yeah. So basically, it's the song was pre-COVID. Anyone who's been to Dublin would know that there's no decent pubs left in Dublin anymore. There's just shit cocktail bars full of insurance workers when they finish on a Friday. Yeah, I suppose it was just about lads in suits taking cocaine, and then they just work all week and then write themselves off all weekend. And it's just a depressing cycle of life that they have, which they're all getting back to now because the offices are open again. So nature is healed. The cocaine dealers are happy again.
I had asked you about that and what the song was actually about. And you told me that. I was like, okay, well, that's, definitely, I feel like that's in my wheelhouse to play a corporate douchebag. That was one thing that Joe and I were talking about. We just love the idea of the song sounded like somebody trying to be cool and doing it poorly. And that's very much what this character is supposed to be. Like, I didn't want him to be such a douchebag that he was threatening, which is why you'll see him, lose an arm wrestle and cough on a pint and spill a pint and, almost get hit by a car because he's trying to, he's not a threatening individual. I didn't want the reactions to be, I hate that guy. It was just complete and total disinterest, which I think hopefully came across. But yeah, so that's how the video kind of came about is it was a kind of a combination of all those things. And I do want to give a big shout out to Joe because he helped me with a lot of the filming as well. Obviously, I couldn't hold the camera at all of those points in time. And the video would not even be close to as good without him. So I do want to give a big shout out to Joe.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Sister Cities, where we'll be coming from the jewel of the northeast in Ireland, Drogheda. Simply too good for the Vikings, but just right for the Normans, it became an important port and historic trading hub throughout the centuries. See Ireland's finest example of Norman Barbican architecture, St. Lawrence's Gate, or perhaps the religious element of St. Oliver Plunkett's severed head, or perhaps our industrial heritage through the now semi-preserved Donaghy's Mill, or perhaps the oil and cake factory on the south side, 70s and 80s industrial heritage, and then wind down with a relaxing wine and dine experience at one of our many gastropubs throughout the town. Yes, Drogheda has it all. And now over to our sister city, Nakuik, in New Brunswick, Canada.
Can I fucking help you there, bud? Why the fuck do you want to know about Nakuik? Alright. Come on in. Janine! Where the fuck are my camo shorts? Not the good ones. We got company. Yeah, well, anyway, it's just, not a bad spot. Got the fucking big axe and stuff, but, well, fuck. Don't come here if you like smoking, though. Fucking darts are like fucking $14 a fucking pack these days. Christ, we don't even have a fucking Timmy's either. Fucking Robin's fucking donuts. Get fucked. Yeah. No, actually, come to think of it, she's kind of a fucking shithole, isn't she? Well, good hunting, though.
And we're back. I've changed uniform because I'm wearing my Wu-Tang Forever t-shirt.
Excellent.
Which I actually bought in a thrift shop with you, Colin.
Which one?
The one in the church.
The one that's open whenever they feel like it.
Yeah, it just opens randomly and sell old women's blouses and Wu-Tang Clan t-shirts. But anyway, I'm wearing my Wu-Tang Clan t-shirt for a reason, and I also got my 40. So I've actually got a 40, which I can't open. But the reason I have a 40 and a Wu-Tang Clan t-shirt on is because we're going to do our classic album, which is Enter the Wu-Tang Clan 36 Chambers. I'm not going to pour one out.
The missus would not be pleased with that.
My shorty wouldn't be happy if I was having pour 40 all over the office. But anyway, I'll let our resident Wu-Tang expert take it from there.
Yeah, so 36 Chambers. I wanted to start off talking about Wu-Tang Clan just with this kind of excerpt from Talib Kweli's book, Vibrate Higher. So you've heard me talk about Talib Kweli before. He's one of my favorite rappers and now authors. He has a very interesting take on rappers at the start of in the prologue of his book. So I'm just going to read it off to you and I'll kind of show the significance, hopefully, as I'm going through it. But he says, The truth is that most rappers are super nerds. While we live at the top of the nerd food chain, we are, without a doubt, nerds who are good with words. We turn poetry into personality and nervous energy into swagger. Our need to be liked by everyone is why we use rhymes to try explain what we're going through and ultimately bring you closer to us. Hip hop is the soundtrack for nerd world domination. The reason I think that's super poignant when it comes to Wu-Tang Clan is just kind of looking at the whole ethos that they created and the world building that they did with 36 Chambers. To go back a little bit, obviously the members of the Wu-Tang Clan, the RZA, the Jizza, Old Dirty Bastard, Method Man, Master Killer, Ghostface Killer, Raekwon, the Chef, Inspector Deck, and You God make up the 9 that are the Wu-Tang Clan. The 3 and the 6 of the 36 Chambers equals 9. One thing with the Wu-Tang Clan, which is obviously evident in 36 Chambers, is the influences from Gordon Liu Grindhouse Kung Fu films. If that isn't nerdy, then what is? You know what I mean? Like, Kweli is dead right when he's describing the kind of, when he's talking about it in terms of rappers being nerds, every rapper has an encyclopedic kind of memory of every other rapper. They research each other, they get stuck into it, they learn about the different techniques and the different styles and everything like that. And that is the Wu-Tang Clan to me. You know, it's a mixture of that with the teachings of the 5 Percenters, which is a kind of offshoot of the Nation of Islam.
It was a black movement, wasn't it?
The RZA had the idea of blending the concepts of martial arts, religion, music. He was obsessed with the contrast of Shaolin Kung Fu and Wu-Tang styles of fighting. They're ancient Chinese martial arts teachings that taught warriors how to fight with both body and spirit and swords. And a perfect balance. So it's basically the idea of a perfect balance between beauty and violence. All of the 36 Chambers. The RZA basically reached out to all of the rappers that he knew that were the best of the best from ciphers. If you're not familiar with a cipher, it's when a group of people in a circle battle each other. And the members of the Wu-Tang all at one point battled each other and battled everybody else to be the top of these cipher groups in Staten Island. So RZA put it together. The first person he called was Raekwon because he knew everybody. And the way Raekwon described it was a get-together with a vision. Sorry, I think it was like the first time they went to record. There's 9 members. And RZA asked for each of them to kick $100 each so that they could pay for their studio time. They ended up with $300. Between the 9 of them, some of the guys...
I can't imagine they got money off Old Dirty Bastard.
Yeah. So, I think the first recording session was for Protect Your Neck, and it cost them $300, some of which was paid in quarters, like not even paper money, just quarters. It was the start of them putting it together and realizing this vision. Another thing that I love about the Wu-Tang Clan is the idea of, they say forming Voltron. Each rapper is definitely unique and different and contrasting to the last or to the next person, but it's bigger than the sum of its parts. That's what the Wu-Tang Clan is. It's the idea of all these different moving parts within a group that transcends it to the next big thing. Old Dirty Bastard, as you said there, Colin, unhinged and just sing-song style of rapping. It's almost like every line is almost a hook. Like literally everything he says, you can rhyme back or remember the next time you listen to it. You had Method Man then as well, who the group nicknamed Captain Hook, because if they had a song and they wanted it to go to the next level, Method Man had to come in and put that hook on it. easiest example of it is Cream. Cash rules everything around me. So
While you're on the subject of Cream, sorry to interrupt, I did have a question. Do you know where the main piano riff? Do you know what that sample is?
The Charmels.
There
The
you go.
Chamels.
It's the Charmels or the
Charmels.
Charmels. As Long as I Got You. It was basically their only song. It is on Spotify, but
What year would that have been released? Do you know?
Oh, 73 or something like that. But
Right, okay.
literally
Yeah.
all the intro to that song is just the do 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 do, and then it goes into something
Yeah.
completely different. That is,
Right,
it
yeah.
just runs once, and he just looped that over and over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was kind of what the RZA did. He'd take these jazz songs and different kind of old records and blues and things like that, and either slow them down or speed them up to get this different vibe and feel and mash them with different things. Then you had the craftsman type MCs like Inspector Deck and Jizza the Genius, just like they're just like, if you were boiling them down to technically the best rappers, you've got those two. You've got the more gangster mafia type rappers like Raekwon and Ghostface. And they actually would often put Raekwon and Ghostface together because they were like yin and yang. You know, two completely different styles. Raekwon's much more. He's talked about how he's obsessed with painting pictures. So his rapping style is storytelling. And then, yeah, as I said, RZA is the architect to put it all together and balance those personalities and made each track better, because it was at the start, it's almost like having all of these 9 different personalities is going to be hectic and tough to put together, but that's kind of the beauty of 36 Chambers. It was recorded on a desk that would traditionally be used for a live show. So it wasn't recorded on like a high-tech studio desk, mixing desk. Everything that they kind of were doing was low-tech when they were putting it together. And that kind of feeds into like the style of it. And because if you think about Dr. Dre and everything like that, that was so studio polished and for the time that it came out, you know. So this was just like the opposite to that. The other thing I was going to say is like on Protect Your Neck, there is a snare sound that is literally an upside down bin with a microphone underneath it and the RZA just hitting the top of it. And they add a massive reverb to it. And when you hear that and you know that it's a bin, it's like all week I was like, oh, there's the bin. Because it's not the whole, it's every now and again, it's not on every snare. It's like offbeat snares that he's hitting it. And it's just like, which you wouldn't think it's a bin. So that's, again, it's like they were using just what they could to make the best that they could. What I wanted to ask you guys to start off the discussion, I suppose, is what was your first interaction with Wu-Tang? When did you first come across it?
Wu-Tang, the reason I first heard Wu-Tang was through the Chili Peppers. John Frusciante referenced them all the time with the recording of Stadium Arcadium, because the song Danny California, before it was called Danny California, before it had lyrics, they just had it written on their production board as Wu-Tang, because the drum beat in it is just which is basically every single beat, which is a song called Synthetic Substitution by Melvin Bliss, which is basically one of the most sampled drum beats ever. It's just that double kick snare, the dum dum ch, and it's just incredibly easy for minimalist rap to rap over. Chili Peppers are very good at like dropping a name in like P-Funk or something like that, and you're just like, you can hear it over and over so often, you're like, I better go check that band out. So when I looked them up, the first song I ever heard from Wu-Tang was through LimeWire. Yeah, it was, I think I had downloaded Cream and Shame on a Nigga, and then I remember thinking that Shame on a Nigga was like still to this day my favorite song off it, because like the samples that are on that song, and then that was like the first time I'd ever heard ODB. And like, as you were saying earlier there, like his rap style is so fucking, like, it's the gravel in his voice is like the Kurt Cobain of rapping or something. Like you hear that voice and you're like, whoa, that's different. That's very different, because you hear so many other rappers and then you hear how he's doing it and you're like, he's got gravel in the back of his voice there. It's the same as well, like it's that kind of herky jerky kind of like stop start, really loose rhythm that almost like falls off the beat every so often when he's rapping. And it's like, as you're saying, that ends up, it's almost like it becomes catchy because it's so wrong almost, and like how he's just like putting sounds in instead of words sometimes, and then he holds something a bit longer, and then like does a bit of like take the piss singing on a line.
I love when he says just blow. Just nobody says blow.
He really got across that he was just like this, I can just do this for the crack sort of thing. Everyone else is really trying here, but I'm just going to come in here and just take the fucking piss because I'm mad.
He's a unique voice amongst unique voices as well. Like, it's just, how do you stand out from that crowd? You know what I mean?
But on that track as well, like there's the samples that are on that like original, the do 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 bling do do do. That's like the very intro, just like Cream. It's just an intro to Thelonious Monk's song, which is actually called Black and Tan Fantasy. But but it's a really good song. It's like, but once again, you listen to that and go, what the fuck? What was running through the RZA's head just to grab that and just loop that over and over again? And then the beat in the background, that like really gangster beat, that doom 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 doom.
Yeah.
That bass line in the background is by a guy called Syl Johnson, Different Strokes. And that's it. I went and listened to that because I heard it was sampled in it. It's like a real normal kind of soul song, kind of, and then the minimalism of the beats in the background. It's usually something just looped over, and you're properly listening to the lyrics and the hooks on it. And then it's their themes. It's like it goes from being relatable, because the West Coast stuff was all just about like, you know, I've got girls, I've got this, I've got money, I've got my bling, I've got all this sort of stuff. Whereas the East Coast stuff was like struggles, and then exactly. Also I'm a fucking massive nerd with like kung fu movies and stuff, so that's why it built up this kind of cult following of like, you know, you don't have to be a cool gangster with a gun down your pants. This is like, I'm also just a big nerd, so I'm kind of into this, which is like really cool. That's why I think they have this like cult type appeal of like, you know, it's a safe place to be, the Wu-Tang Clan, you know, as Wu-Tang, gangster as it is.
Wu-Tang's for the children. They want to plant like seeds of things that will be a legacy, and it's so that they don't make the same mistakes I made when I was growing up. But
they did, right? Like there's still rap songs coming out today where they reference Wu-Tang Clan. The one that pops to mind is on Drake's Nothing Was the Same album. He has a full song called Wu-Tang Forever, and he just, you know, talks about what that relationship was with him growing up with their music. And so they totally succeeded in that Wu-Tang is for the children kind of mantra. I started getting into hip hop kind of like mid-teens, and it was very much the hip hop that was coming out at the time, like Kanye West, and then a little bit later, like some early Drake stuff, and J. Cole I was a big fan of. And then as that, after that album I just referenced, Nothing Was the Same by Drake is one of my all-time favorites. And then I think that is kind of, in my opinion, where the genre just kind of descended, and I blame Drake, descended into mumbling. And when that happened, I completely lost interest and started going back into the archives. So it wasn't until I was like an adult that I personally got into Wu-Tang. Frank, do you remember, because we bought that 36 Chambers album together, did we not? I don't know. Do you remember where I got that?
We went on, this is actually quite funny in terms of music. We went on 2 road trips, and the first road trip we went on, this is not to do with Wu-Tang, the first road trip we went on, we were on these like big 10-hour drives going down from like middle of Canada to Seattle and stuff. We had no music in the car, and this is back when, you know, Spotify wasn't good enough really to our Wi-Fi wasn't good enough. Spotify was probably grand. We had no music, so we stopped in a shop and we bought 3 CDs. We got a Blues Traveler CD. We got
the best of Blondie.
The best of Blondie, and is that all we got?
I know, and I think it was Wu-Tang as well. Yeah.
Was that
that might have been?
No, that was the second.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, so I can't
because
remember.
Those were the only 2 CDs I had on the drive back by myself.
Yes, so it was only two CDs we had, was the best of Blondie and Blues Traveler. So that was the first trip. But anyway, the second trip, same fucking story. We had like a few downloaded albums on our Spotify. So we got to Portland and Oregon, and we stopped in like the best record shop I've ever been in, and it was huge. But they had this bin in the corner just full of CDs that were 99 cents. So we were like, fuck it, let's just pick up this, because I wasn't going to buy records because I was on a road trip and I didn't want to haul them around with me. So we were just like, let's just get a load of 99 cent CDs. So I remember I got like What's the Story, Morning Glory by Oasis, and we got like a Blur album, and kind of good listening. But then we also got like a DMX album, Wu-Tang,
Goldie looking chain.
Goldie Looking Chain, the Streets. What was the really famous Streets album? Original Pirate Material?
A Grand Ole Come for Free.
A Grand Ole Come for
Grand Ole
Free.
Come for
Exactly,
Free. That
yeah.
was the original pirate content.
Material's the first one.
Yeah. And the single Angel by Shaggy.
Let's not forget that it was the single Angel by Shaggy that came with the original single, an instrumental version, a karaoke version. I'm not sure how those aren't the same thing.
Yeah.
And
an acoustic version.
And an acoustic version or a remix or something. I can't. There were four. There were four versions of the same song that we listened to too many times.
But most importantly, we got 36 Chambers, which was definitely the one we listened to the most.
I think that was the first time I genuinely listened. I mean, I'd heard Wu-Tang before, obviously, but that was the first time I'd listened to that album front to back. And you brought up the song Tears. That might actually be my favorite track on the whole album. I think I can't remember who you were talking about was the storyteller and whether or not it's him on the track, but that was the first thing I thought of when you brought that up.
Tears is the RZA and Ghostface Killah.
There we go.
Ghostface, okay, yeah.
But also the song Tears is After Laughter Comes Tears by Wendy Renee, which is that like that sample which works really well. Like I think how some of the samples work really well because rapping is the same the whole way through, but Wu-Tang have a great way of flipping from the like first note in a sequence, the first to like the fourth or the fifth, and like how the music swaps over that. Like that happens in Cream and it happens in Also Simple, the Gladys Knight and the Pip song, The Way We Were on it, that like goes up to like a fifth or a fourth and the rapping stays the same over, but like that doesn't happen very often in rap, that there is such an emphasis on the background, even though it's so minimal, but like the little changes that happen in the background have like this emotional effect almost.
That's a good way to put it, actually.
And it happens in Tears a lot, I think, because like when it goes back to that kind of gospel singing of after laughter comes tears, it really hits home with what they're saying about being on the streets or about like shitty upbringings and stuff. It's like they do it really well, I think.
When we bring up those CDs, it's probably worth Frank giving the story of where those CDs ended up, because it kind of ties in with what we were talking about in the previous section. So the road trips, the vehicle that we did those road trips in was the vehicle that is in the Blue Horrors video, which was originally our friend Tyson's, and then I bought it from him, and we went to all around BC, down to Portland with it. It was a great car. I had all those CDs in there. My friend Sparks and I went out for a drive one day, and this was middle of March or something. I just wanted to go down a road I'd never been down, and we were driving down this fucking back arse road in the middle of an area called The Ghost, which is a wilderness area not too far from here. Of course, we got stuck. Like there was a road that went one way and the other went straight, and of course the one that went straight I figured would be plowed and was not. So we ended up getting stuck out there. Had to spend the night in the woods, the whole deal. Now, to Sparks' credit, as a man who grew up in inner city Belfast, when I told him we were going to have to spend the night in, as he put it, balls deep in the absolute wilderness, his only response was, shit. So he took it pretty well. So we spent the night out there, but the thing was fucking stuck there for about 3 weeks. While it was out there, there was an officer come to my door and was like, do you own the vehicle that's stuck down the Trans-Alta Road in the Ghost? And I was like, I do, yeah. He's like, oh, the registration is expired. Here's a $300 fine.
Jeez. What a kick in the stones.
Yeah. This is the abridged version of the story. This story could go on for ages. But the important part is how it relates to the CDs. Because at that point in time, I was like, has anybody broken into it? Because this is redneck Alberta country. I was like, there's a gun range, like literally like 2 kilometers up this road. I was like, has anybody broken into it yet? And he said, no. And I went back it wasn't more than like 4 or 5 days after that with my buddy TJ, and we pulled it out. But in that span, somebody had broken into it. They'd broken in the back window. They'd taken the tire chains. They'd taken the battery out of the vehicle. They'd cut the battery out of the vehicle. And of course, they took all my CDs. So the Wu-Tang, Enter 36 Chambers, They were bumping that on their way out. Redneck Alberta listening to the karaoke version of Angel while they're at the gun range, no doubt.
I think the fact that they went away with Goldie looking chain is much funnier.
Goldie looking chain as well. Yeah.
That's
What's the one about the cell phone?
I can't remember. They're from Newport in Wales.
Yeah.
There was a song on that album that was like, "That's right, your mother's got a penis."
Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine at the end of the country, guns don't kill people, rappers do.
Yeah. I'm saving Ian for last because I think you'll be an interesting take on your first kind of.
I think this is where it gets most interesting now. It's like Ian has probably been dying inside listening to our rap analysis.
Well, I'll quickly say my first because I think it's very funny. But Cork, 2001. I was 11 or 12, so 2001, 2002.
Take us there, Shane.
Everybody.
Very creepy.
Wu-Tang
I was trying to pour a beer during that. I almost spilled the whole fucking thing.
Well, okay, so Cork 2001, 2002, it might have been 11 or 12, and Wu-Tang apparel was sweeping the nation sweeping Cork. I was in primary school, so 11 or 12, and everyone was wearing Wu-Tang pants. And I was like, where are you getting these Wu-Tang pants? Wu-Tang pants. Mm-hmm. So
they were huge here,
To describe,
get me a pair of those.
To describe Wu-Tang pants, they were the baggiest pants you could wear. They came in any color you wanted. You had black, blue jeans, cream, but I got the black pair, and on the knee was a massive Wu-Tang symbol. So I went and got myself a pair. You know, I was riding my bike wearing my Wu-Tang pants, and the jeans got caught in my bike chain, and I fell off my bike, and to add insult to injury, I had ripped the whole inside of my right leg from the bottom up to the crotch, and I had to walk back with my bike because the chain was off. And I was like 11 or 12, so I had to walk back to my house. I couldn't fix the chain. I was like, oh, this is the saddest moment for Wu-Tang.
Did you not just put the chain around your neck?
I did. It wasn't until later that I really got into it, because it was a couple of years later then Dave Chappelle had obviously the Chappelle Show, and there was the sketch about the Wu-Tang Financial, and you know, and they're like saying, protect your goddamn neck, protect your investments, son, and all this kind of stuff, and it was a very funny sketch. But that's when I started. I was like, I gotta listen to the Wu-Tang to know all these references, because I can't be laughing at it just because it's funny. I need to figure out what this is. And
you owed it to your pants, Shane.
I owed it to the pants. So that leads me on to Ian, because I feel like hip-hop isn't really in your wheelhouse, and obviously in preparation for this you went and listened, so I think there's going to be the most maybe interesting kind of take on it. So what did you take from it listening to Wu-Tang this week?
Yeah, I think, I was, a long time ago, probably around the same time as yourself, Shane, 11 or 12 years of age. My cousins, my two cousins, brothers, like, they're massive into Wu-Tang, and rap in general, really, really big fans. One of the cousins was a little bit more into, metal and stuff. So I kind of gravitated more to the other cousin, for like the metal end and all that, so I suppose that's where I kind of diverged a bit, and
what could have been.
Back then, I suppose exposed to it and all that, but like I kind of went down a different path. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Shane. Last week was the first proper listen I ever gave to be entirely honest with you, a rap album. It's the first time ever, really. And yeah, no, I really did enjoy it. I suppose no surprise really. What I really enjoyed about it was the sampling. And just how they went about like mashing them about and that, and also the actual sources of the samples are very interesting to me. Yourself and Frank alluded to there was an awful lot of jazz, an awful lot of 60s, an R&B. Like there's one track, Seventh Chamber, like you had Lonnie Smith, the Charmels, Otis Redding, like on one track, and it all matches up so seamlessly, and you wouldn't think there's 3 or 4 different jazz R&B stuff going on, but there is, But one source I actually found incredibly interesting, and it got me for ages. Wondering what the hell was going on, because the first track is Bring the Ruckus, is it?
Yeah.
But on top of Melvin Bliss's, the sample he used, that classic R&B beat, every now and again you had this very kind of heavy snare, overdubbed onto the snare.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought maybe, did they actually do it themselves or something, but I discovered there's this guy called Ralph Vargas who actually created Funky Drummer Volume 1. It was an album, in 1993.
Yeah.
And he basically copped that, during those kind of early days of hip hop, and that all the samples are from, in general now, before Wu-Tang, like all the samples are from the same old tracks, and they all sound very much the same. Like, so this guy said, what about if I just make a live drums album, where rappers and hip hop artists can freely sample from them, maybe just give me a credit in the line or whatever, that's it. And I think 36 Chambers was his big kind of furore into hip hop, as a guy who provides samples, it was very cool. I really like that.
Yeah, I think we've covered extensively the Wu-Tang Clan there, and
we have, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of want to say thanks to Colin for bringing that up, because we probably have never done it.
I was shitting my pants thinking that I would have to talk about some like old Beatles album or something, and I was like, we'll do the Wu-Tang Clan.
If you start a fucking queue, I'll damage your face. Place your orders online, don't come near the fucking place. I won't be held accountable for tracking fucking trace. We won't be selling drinks, so go and explore the mess. 12 for 1 a bun is queer nice, son. Dirty kebabs that are all vegan. Veggie taco fries, I ain't telling lies. You won't believe your eyes when you're eating in style. One last thing, cauliflower wings. That's fucking right, I'm the vegan chicken king. The vegan chicken king. Oh, motherfucking vegan chicken king. South Main Street, Wexford Town, son. Just Eat, Deliveroo. Tall Green, massive. Oh, bit of lard. Fucking vegan jam.
It's time to play a fucking game. Yes, it is a fucking game, and this fucking game is called
The Who or the Woo. You may think that might be like Roger Daltrey and Peter Townsend and the boys, but I'm going to read you a quote, and you're going to tell me if that was said by a member of the Wu-Tang Clan or a member of the World Health Organization. Because it's topical.
Oh, goodness.
Fantastic.
So I'll start with our guest. I'll start with Colin.
Right.
This quote, was this said by a member of the Wu-Tang Clan or the WHO? Be fast, have no regrets. If you need to be right before you move, you will never win. The greatest error is not to move, and speed trumps perfection.
Well, I'm going to go with the Wu-Tang Clan.
That was said by our very own Mike Ryan, epidemiologist.
Oh, wow.
The WHO. In relation to coronavirus. Okay, Ian, I'll give you the next one. Okay, who said this, the Woo or the Who? You gotta have a schedule. You gotta have a team that's passionate about seeing you do the things you say you want to do. When it comes to delivering this, it takes a lot of work, and I can't do it on my own.
Right.
Also, I'm not doing this word for word, so I might gangster it up or I might official it up just to throw you.
Yeah.
Gangster them all up.
He's drinking a 40 and trying to official something up is just enough juxtaposition for me.
You're lucky you have a top on.
That says Wu-Tang forever.
You started off fairly gangstery, and you went quite official. So I think
I give a half and half there. Yeah.
I think you're compensating there. I'm going to go with Wu-Tang Clan.
It was Rake on. There we go. Okay, Shane. Okay, who said this? The Who or the Who? Be safe, be smart, be kind.
Oh, I'm going to go with the Who on that one.
You got it. That is the man himself, Dr. Tedros.
There we go.
Okay, Colin, back to you.
Can you call Colin the guest face killer? Because he's the guest.
Yeah? Why not?
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Okay. The world will not be destroyed by those who do evil, but by those who watch without doing anything. The Woo or the Who?
Oof. Well, I don't really feel like giving the Who too much credit, so I'm going to double down and go Woo on this one.
It's the WHO.
I thought that was going to be too obvious. Like,
Oh. Ian,
Guest
here we
Face
go.
Killer is not doing well.
Okay, Ian, here we go. It's harder to make the glass than break the glass.
I can imagine this being like some sort of analogy on the press conferences. Yeah, I'd say WHO.
That was the RZA.
Oh shit! Right.
This is what I love about this. Some of the analogies that they use are so abstract. Okay, Shane.
I'm ready.
I'm going to try do this as best I can. There's a lot of it. So, we must face up to an inescapable reality. The changes of sustainability simply overwhelm the inadequacy of our responses. With some honourable exceptions, our responses are too few, too little, and too late.
You made that very like it was a rhyme, so that's what I'm
Yeah.
leaning towards it being the WHO.
That was actually Kofi Annan. So it's the WHO, technically, yeah. Kofi Annan could have easily been a member of the Wu-Tang. With a name like that.
If Colin is the guest face killer, would you prefer Ian to be Ian Spectadeck or Ray Queen? Ray Ian.
That could be very easy. Ray Queen.
Or
Which is a very different performer.
or Master Killian.
Killian.
Ian.
Master Killian.
I think Ian. I think
a little posh Anglo-Irish boy.
I think
Killian. Okay, Colin.
Yes.
When we neglect others of superficial wisdom, fake respect, phony knowledge, we tell ourselves it's their life. We say it's not our responsibility. We don't want to get involved. Well, get involved or we'll all feel the pain.
I am still going with Woo. It's too late for me to back down.
That was, in fact, the RZA.
Yes. There we go. Some life.
Okay, Ian, your last one.
Okay.
We have food stamps. They're glad of food stamps. Why wouldn't you want to get free money?
Oh God, I can't imagine the Who being that abrupt. Wu-Tang.
It is correct. That was ODB.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. Killer bees are like a hurricane. You can't stop them from coming, but you can prepare for them.
it's the Woo.
That was Dr. David Cullum from The Who.
How deep did you search into every WHO press conference to find one that referenced killer bees?
That's fantastic.
You're on two each. I didn't really prepare for this. I have,
A tiebreaker question?
well, I suppose it was a joke. Well, obviously, who said this? The Woo or the Who? Oh baby, I like it raw.
The Woo.
I think that's Kofi Annan again.
That's the end of my quiz. The Woo or the Who?
I enjoyed it.
So that was a great game.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sister Cities.
Today we'll be starting with the capital of beautiful British Columbia, Victoria. Located at the southern tip of rugged Vancouver Island, Victoria is a temperate ocean paradise with all the amenities of a big city and all the charm of a small fishing village. While you're here, you can check out the Royal BC Museum and immerse yourself in our province's rich history. Or take a whale watching tour and get acquainted with some of the locals. One thing we know for sure is that you're going to love Victoria, almost as much as you're going to love her sister city, New Ross, County Wexford, Ireland.
Well, lad, there's heaps of things to be going at in New Ross, like shaking hands at the JFK statue, or the Super Value is savage, so it is. The Rose Kennedy Bridge gets you to Waterford in like 10 minutes or so, and sure, Kilkenny's only up the road. Actually, come to think about it, the best thing about New Ross is how close it is to actual nice places. But sure, get yourself a bag of cans and get yourself acquainted with the locals. It'd be fucking quite good, like.
Well, boys, what are you at? This is the one and only DJ Noof coming at you from Club Noof in the heart of St. John's, Newfoundland. Have you ever been to a bar that this place is too nice for me? Or fuck, the music in here could be shittier though, boys? Or Jesus, where's all the 4s and 5s at? Well, look no further, boys, I got you covered. We got bottles of Black Horse for a $5. You'll do you a bottle of Screech for $20, and there'll be more dance floor finger blasting than your missus could shake her grandmother's wedding ring at. So come on down to Club Noof. She's in the heart of St. John and she's the greasiest club on the rack, boys. Oh, and speaking of racks, does anybody have any coke? I'm starting to fade something desperate here, boys.
Colin, at the end of the Blue Horrors video, that's a frozen lake, is it?
It is, yeah. So the truck that I was using to shoot that was the one that I accidentally got stuck out into the woods and ended up being a write-off. So I got to a certain point where I just went, well, this is all that I can do with this because I no longer have a truck to shoot this video. I had to kind of switch plans, and the only place I could get to was, because I would have picked somewhere a bit more remote probably, or a bit more striking, but I ended up just going to Grassy Lakes, which again is probably one Frank will know, and because it was the only place I could walk to, as I didn't have a vehicle.
Incredibly well edited. Like, it does look like you just
I appreciate
got
that.
out and, you know.
Yeah, I luckily filmed like the last shot that I really wanted or needed per se for that video, and it was like less than a week later that the thing got stuck. So I was very fortunate to finish it on time.
It is quite funny that you mentioned the end of that video, because the biggest complaint I've heard from a few people was that they were expecting you to get naked at it.
So that's the other funny thing is I almost intended to do so. I kind of did intend to do so. Then I thought it might be a bit dark or something. I don't know, like maybe it was
He's lost his
was
mind.
insinuating. Yeah, maybe he was insinuating that he was just going to get in or something and not get out. I don't like, because I had originally thought of that, and probably honestly I was just like, fuck filming that. I'm absolutely not getting naked. Because it's a fairly, like, there wasn't anybody on it at the time, but there are cars there public, like fairly consistently, yeah. So I don't know. I think my bare ass would have just blended in with the snow and nobody would have been able to save me.
It is pretty true, actually. It's not sure. Is that funny or kind of sad or tragic?
I was trying to avoid tragic. Like with the Blue Horse video, I wanted there to be kind of like a clear story, like that this guy was going looking for something, and that the whole video to me hinges on that last shot where you get like a tiny little bit of a smile, kind of insinuating that he found whatever he was looking for. And I decided to leave it at that because I think you could interpret me getting naked in many different ways.
What I think is funny though is like the first time Frank said he kind of pitched the idea for the new Mr. Spider video was he thought it would just be you dancing around in his underpants. Now he's talking about how people wanted to see. Is there eventually going to be an Elephant Room video where you are just naked? Because that seems to be what everyone wants.
It's true. You come up with the right song, and I will get naked to it.
You know, if you still had all the stuffed toys, Colin, you know, like a third video could be in a car with all those stuffed toys in the background, and you around that Hicksville, the Calvary area. You know, I think it'd be some story there, like, you know. So
I took the Jeep in to get some work done and forgot that I had all of these stuffed animals in the Jeep from shooting the night before, and so all these, you know, rough mechanic boys are working on this Jeep, and I'm sure they looked in and just went, what the fuck is this guy doing with all of these stuffed animals? And there were a couple of moments while filming that were kind of similar. People had like, what the fuck is this guy doing moments, and I just had to power through. There's the shots of me in Calgary. There's one where I'm literally just holding this fucking thing out like this, right? I've got it on the tripod, and I'm holding the tripod out like this. And I'm literally just walking around this kind of hipster area in Calgary, making funny faces, not sort of half talking to myself, wandering around like an absolute psychopath. And what I was trying to get was this guy like checking a girl out and then making a face about it. And I was home. I couldn't see what I was doing. That's the other thing with this camera. Everything that I shot was a mystery to me until I got home. And So I'm doing this, I'm holding the thing out like this. I kind of do this to a woman, and she turned as she walks by me and turns and looks back at me, and we make eye contact. And you could tell she was not pleased. She was like, "Are you filming this?" And I just put my head down, or just kept going, you know, making faces and walking forward. But in my head, I was kind of like, well, what do you think I'm doing? I just walk around with the camera, not recording things for just shits and giggles. Like, of course I'm fucking recording it.
The other thing as well, Colin, I don't know if it was planned or not. Like, you know, when you walk across and the car stops and you're like that, you know, is that one of your mates in the car?
It is.
Okay,
Yeah. So big shout out to Ben Hames for doing that about 7 times until we got the right
brilliant.
Yeah. So all the shots in Calgary are done in just like a kind of 1 block, 2 block radius. That's where I filmed myself doing the flip off scene. There were no children actually flipped off during the making of this video. I just want to clarify that. For any parents of children I may want to use in the future for other videos.
Oh, Jesus.
We can edit that, right? I don't want to
cut that.
Yeah, I broke Ian.
That's fantastic. Oh God.
I think it's a good point to finish up. We're going
really? You think that's a good point to finish?
Yeah.
But I do want to thank you for having me on. This is a blast. And like I said earlier, the opportunity to shoot this was great. Everybody in it, I'm going to kind of include in, or has been included in the YouTube video, and there's a Facebook post up and all that kind of stuff. So thank you to everybody who came out and drunkenly looked disapprovingly at me. That was all I ever asked for.
Kind of like our gigs, people get drunk and look at us disapprovingly.
Yes, yeah. This is a match made in heaven then.
I'd say we ended up there. Colin, thanks a million for coming on.
It's my pleasure, man. This is a blast.
Thanks for doing the video for us. We will now
Anytime.
play the song, and go watch the video on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram or wherever you spend your time. And we'll leave it there. So everyone collectively say goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye. Thank you, Colin.
Goodbye, Sláinte. Thank you for having me.
Well, their teeth down to the gums, they'll be grinding their jaws until some meat